akili kakimbia mbio sana. Alafu kitu ya vile nilifuatisha sasa ikasema I love you. Sasa nikajaribu za Kizungu. Sasa vile nilijaribu Kizungu nilisweat my friend.
Mr. Kakata.
The man is so handsome, like to me, he's so handsome that every time when he would come and he would say Habari, and I know it's Missouri, I would try and say it back and I would completely get lost. And the first time he walked up, he goes, Habari. And I held out my hand and my heart stopped and I went, Habari. And I knew, but my words wouldn't come.
Oh my, you were startled.
Yes, and I'm never like that. In my whole life, I've never been like that with any other man until he came. And God gave me a vision of Albert and I married. And Albert didn't know English at the time. I didn't know Bukusu at the time or Kiswahili. But God, in the vision, I put my hand on his heart and he put his hand on my heart. And we just understood each other's hearts without words.
You can tell from my in-law and my mom and my dad, I love him for so much. You do for the good things for me for my life. You make my life more to look beautiful. For now, most for me can say. You make more for my face, my life, most for my kids, for my wife. Now most for me now more to standing more to look for another man more to can just stand now. He said, Shukran, thanks everything what you do for me. I love for him so much.
Tumetua eneo la Kibuke, tunaelekea Nyangali Village huko. Hapa nikiwa ni county ya Bungoma. Tutakuwa tunawaletea makala ya mapenzi kuhusu wapenzi wawili kutoka USA na hapa katika Afrika, ukipenda Kenya, Bungoma, Nyangali Village. Andamana nasi tunapofika katika kile kijiji cha Nyangali.
I see. It's a camera. Can you say hi? Say hi. See, look at you can see yourself.
Say hi.
Say hi, Zachariah. Baba and Mama and Yaya, which is Zachariah, they call him Zakayaya.
Oh, Yaya.
So Yaya, she can already say cat and some people are funny though, like his cousins tease him. They say that.
We are here at Nyangali Village, Bumula Sub-County in Bungoma County, and we're bringing to you a very beautiful love story of a Bukusu guy and a Muzungu lady. And so they decided to come together and have a family, and for them, they have two beautiful kids. I don't want to talk much. Let me bring in Albert Wanyonyi, who is the man we're going to talk about today and is going to share with us his beautiful story. Welcome. What is your name? Maybe introduce yourself. Who is Albert Wanyonyi?
Mimi naitwa Albert Wanyonyi, mzaliwa wa Bungoma County. Area yangu inaitwa Nyangali. Yes.
Nyangali ni ndani tumepotea sana.
Sio mbali vile, lakini watu wengi hawajui, lakini sasa imeanza kutambulika, sasa watu wanaelewa.
Hapa Albert huyu labda pengine ni mtu aina gani?
Huyu Albert ni mtu mwenye anaweza patikana tu hivi. Sasa zingine ni mtu mwenye unaweza kutana naye kwa town akifanya kazi yake, lakini vigumu kumtambua.
Huyu Albert alizaliwa wapi? Ni mtoto wangapi katika familia yao?
Huyu Albert anazaliwa kwa hii Bungoma County, mahali inaitwa Nyangali. Kwao wako vijana 6. kichumula familia wako 11, wasichana 5, vijana 6. Sasa ni mtu wa 5.
Okay. Sawa sawa. Huyu Albert, na labda kisomo chako umesoma mpaka na wapi?
Kisomo changu kilikatia kwa njia, kwa sababu wakati yenye baba yangu alikufa 1998, na hapo nilikuwa mimi mtoto mtoko. Sasa hatukuwa na support yenye mtu anaweza kusimamisha alafu tuendelee na kisomo. Sasa hapo kisomo yangu ikafikia kama standard 2. Na hapo ndio mwisho yangu.
Baadaye ukaanza kujishughulisha na nini?
Ilikuwa tu jua kali, kwa sababu pia tulikuwa na watoto wetu wadogo. Tulikuwa sasa heri sasa sisi tutoke tutavute kidogo kwa familia. Sasa hiyo wakati tulikuwa tukienda kama job, sasa kuchunga kama ng'ombe ilikuwa almost 1 kwa mwezi mmoja, inakuwa kama 250. Sasa hapo tulikuwa tunazaitia familia ili ipukane tusaidie mama.
Sasa baadaye ukaanza kufanya kazi gani? Na hebu mwanzo ulikuwa unafanya kazi gani ndio ukapatana na madam?
Kazi yenye ilifanya mimi nikakutana na yeye ilikuwa ministry. Mimi napenda sana Mungu. Tulikuwa na mambo ya kanisa. Sasa vile pia mimi nilimuona, nikasema hapo ndio sasa natakana nikue.
Ngoja mwanzo hapo hatujafika hapo penye ulimuona. Ngoja mwanzo sasa hapa umeingia katika neno. Wewe unapenda Mungu. Wewe ulikuwa pastor?
Mimi ni prayer warrior. Na hiyo ndio kazi ilifanya mpaka mimi ikanisukuma mpaka nikafika mahali yenye naweza kukutana na yeye. Yes.
Hebu tuambie hiyo siku sasa ilikuwaje, mlijuana aje mwanzo? Na ile siku ya kwanza tu mkaonana ilikuwaje?
Siku ya kwanza kumuona ilikuwa saa 6 ya usiku. Nilikuja akiingia kwa bishop. Na mimi vile nilimuona pia mimi nilitika na moyo wangu, nikaona mtu mwenye nimeona ni mtu wa muhimu maishani mwangu.
So huo wakati saa 6 usiku mlikuwa na ibada ama mlikuwa na nini haswa?
Hiyo ndio siku ya kwanza kwake kuingia Kenya. Sasa tulikuwa
So nyinyi mlikuwa mmengoja wageni?
Tulikuwa tumengoja.
Kanisa ilikuwa imesema wageni wanakuja wazungu, sasa sisi tuwangojee mpaka vile watakapofika.
Yes.
Sasa wewe ukawa miongoni mwa wale walikuwa wanangoja.
Yes.
Alafu ikakuaje hiyo siku akakuja mkamuona Roy kaparagasha ama?
Roy ilichamp. Roy ilijump kwa sababu kitu yenye unaona, alafu unajua unakuwa na feeling by the way. Sasa unajua ukiona kitu na pia mawazo mpaka lazima unaona hii kitu imeniingia kwa damu. Pia mimi Roy ilichamp. Pia mimi nikasema hapa ndio sasa.
Hapa ndo sasa yenyewe. Sasa ngoja niulize, wewe wakati wao wote mpaka hata ukihudumu pale kanisani ulikuja pata kama msichana?
Bado sikuwa na msichana.
Na mahusiano huko nje hakuwa watu kuna uhusiano na
hawezi koza.
Hebu tueleze kulikuaje?
Hapo unaweza tanga, lakini hapo huwezi tanga kwa sababu huwezi koza, kwa sababu hiyo mtu yenyewe pia mimi nilikuwa nimeishi mpaka lazima nilikuwako na nia zangu. Lakini sasa vile sasa nilifaulu ni labda hizo nia sasa zikakatika.
Hebu tuambie wewe wakati akikuja moyo wako unasema iliparagash. Wakati moyo ukaparagash hivyo, wakati ulikuwa na mtu mahali.
Sasa ilikuwa comment sana. Nilikuwa nako lakini sasa ilikuwa very serious. Unajua sasa singine unakuwa na mtu lakini uchamuonyesha ama yeye achakuonyesha, sasa unafikiria ni kama siku nyingine atabadilika kama.
Alikuwa wa kanisa? Wa kanisani hapo?
Hapana, hakuwa wa kanisani.
Okay. Baadaye moyo umesema ikaparagash. Alafu sasa
hivyo mpaka sasa nikatafuta sasa njia za kukaribia. Unajua sasa huwezi enda tu mimi ndio huyu nini, mpaka nikaanza kujaribu pole nia za kukaribia nione kama mpaka lazima nia hii mpaka luka enea ama ikatike. Sasa hapo nikajaribu. Kwanza mimi nilikuwa nachua pikipiki na mimi mtu wa kwanza sasa wakasema wewe Pepe sasa kwanza umpeleke shopping.
Kwisha.
Mkaenda shopping.
So nikampeleka shopping. Lakini sasa nikimbeba unajua niko na mawazo nyuma. Sina mawazo kwa sababu ninafikiria nitaanzaje kwa sababu sijui Kisungu. Mimi najua Kibuguzi. Nikijaribu Kibuguzi inakuwa ngumu pia. Sasa siku moja tulikuwa tunaenda Mayanja shopping. Kwanza nilienda na brada yangu. Na alafu nikafika hapo kuna maua mazuri hapo kwa barabara. Nikajunako maua mawili kwanza. Hiyo ndio sasa Nzia mzuri sasa yenye nilianzia
Unajua mzungu anapenda maua.
Nikasema sasa uziano mzuri usipeleke ndizi, usipeleke ndizi, tupeleke kwanza maua ndio sasa pia yafikirie. Sasa nimpelekea maua pia akarespond akasema na akacheka tu na kaingia kwa nyumba. Na pia mimi
sasa hapo mmetoka shopping mmerudi.
Yes.
Akiingia wewe unampa maua.
Na mimi nikampa maua.
Ulichuna maua mwenyewe?
Mimi mwenyewe nilichuna. Tena ilikuwa maua mazuri sana.
Kala gani unakumbuka?
I think mwenye atasema hapo.
Okay.
Sasa nikai siku karibu tena siku mbili sasa siku ya pili sasa. Tukaenda sasa tulikuwa tunaenda town. Nikasema sasa hapa hata kama mimi nitachiuma ulimi wacha nijaribu. Hapo ndio nilijaribu mara ya kwanza. Nikajaribu kizungu ikapotea kidogo. Nikamwambia nakupenda.
Kwa Kiswahili.
Kwa Kiswahili. Sasa yeye akasema what do you say? Akasema alafu sasa akili kakimbia mbio sana. Alafu kitu ya yenye nilifuatisha sasa ikasema I love you. Sasa nikajaribu sasa kizungu. Sasa vile nilijaribu kizungu nilisweat my friend.
Mistari kakata.
Nilijaribu tukanyamaza na pia akasema simamisha pikipiki. Nikapiti nisimamishe pikipiki. Afu akaniambia hiyo ndio nilikuwa nimengoja kwako niambie. Yes.
Yeye naye kumbe alikuwa na feelings.
Alikuwa na feeling lakini alikuwa ameshindwa bila
hata kukwambia.
Yes. Sasa akaniambia hiyo ndio kitu mimi nilikuwa nimengoja. Sasa akaniambia sasa unajua nasikia lakini kujibu la saa nyingine ni ngumu, ilikuwa hapo ngumu. Lakini nianza kusikia akiongea nasikia. Lakini niambia twende. Sasa twende tukae tukaongee.
Sasa hivyo wanakuongelesha Kiingereza.
Na Kiingereza lakini
ushiki mita vizuri.
Na mita anaishika kujibu
ndio
sasa ulimi ndakuwa mzito sasa. Pia mimi nikaelewa hiyo wakati ulikuwa na Tesha hapo. Ilikuwa na kaodeli kazuri kando hivi. Hapo Tesha. Hapo ndio sasa story yetu sasa ilianzia sasa.
Yes. Our love story ikaanzia hapo.
Ikaanzia hapo sasa. Na pia kizungu tena ikaanza kukuja kidogo kidogo sasa.
Roho Mtakatifu wa Kiingereza ikaanza kushuka.
Sasa hapo ndio sasa tuliongeako mawili akaniuliza sasa mimi siwezi pika ugali na wewe sasa nasikia hadi Wabukusu mnakula ugali. Sasa mimi nitafanya nikamwambia hapo mimi ndio nitashughulika na mambo ya ugali. Shughulika nayo.
Wewe bora tu nipende.
Wewe nipende. Akasema sasa ni mambo zingine kama koja sasa huko sasa kwetu ukienda kwa koja ni tofauti na huko. Nikasema tutajaribu sasa ukiishi hapa na pia mimi nitazoea sasa nitajaribu pia mimi mambo ya kwenu na pia wewe utajaribu pia kwetu. Sasa tutaunganisha kama tuko pamoja. Nikaeleweka. Toka hapo tulikuwa na uhusiano. I think kwa rahisi lakini nilijaribu.
Ulijituma.
Nilijituma.
Ukaenda uwanjani ukasema liwe liwalo.
Yes. Nilicheza vizuri sana hiyo pole hata kama
akaingia kwa box.
Akaingia kwa box.
Baada ya kuingia kwa box ikakuaje?
Baada ya kuingia kwa box na sasa unajua mimi nilikuwa hapa na nyumba kidogo tu. Ilikuwa sasa iko hivi, ilikuwa kidogo. Sasa kukuja huku unajua sasa sometimes ukitembea na mzungu unajua mtu anaanza kuongea. Sasa unasikia lakini hawezi elewa nini. Sasa mimi naelewa. Sasa akianza hapo kuongea na pia mimi na reverse nikianza hapa kuinterpret pole ndio hapo sasa mambo yakaenda sawa.
Hebu niambie sasa baada ya nyinyi kwenda huko umesema ilikuwa inaitwa Tesha. Baada ya kwenda Tesha akaingia box. Mlikuja mkaambia sasa Bishop.
Hapa ilikuwa vigumu by the way tena. Lakini yeye ni alienda wa kwanza kuambia wazazi wake. Yeye ni alienda akaambia wazazi wake.
Wakati wazazi wake walikuwa wamekuja?
Alikuja na wazazi wake.
Okay. Sasa before uende umwambie I love you, alikuwa wamekaa hapa kama kwa muda gani?
Almost miezi 6 hivi.
Ulingoja huo muda wote?
Sasa unajua nilikuwa najaribu. Sasa Luko najua ilikuwa imenikazi.
Sikabidi uende uanze kurevise ujue I love you na kaje.
Yes.
Utafute mistari vizuri ya Kiingereza.
Yes, nitafute.
Sasa I think kuna mtu alikuwa anakusaidia? Ndugu yako ama nani?
Hakuna mtu mwenye.
Wewe mwenyewe ulikuja tu ukasema acha mimi nitafute hizo.
Mimi tu nilichituma tu. Paka tu watu wengine wakasema labda kuna mtu mwingine mwenye anamzaitia. Lakini nilikuwa tu mimi. Hii Kizungu nilikuwa tu nachiuma tu peke yangu kwa nyumba. Nikitrain usiku kwa Kiswahili narudia kwa Kizungu. Nikichukua kitu kimoja naenda. Sasa nikiongea kwa Kizungu na kuja kwa Kiswahili na kuja kwa Kibukusu. Nashikanisha zote sasa.
Baada ya kufanya rehearsal ndio kaenda ukajituma.
Nikajituma vizuri.
Wow. Akaingia box, baadaye akaambia babake na mamake.
Yes.
Wakasemaje sasa?
Na pia wakasema huyu kijana anaonekana ni mzuri. Kwa sababu ni kijana mwenye tumekaa naye tunamuelewa. Ako na respect na tena anapenda Mungu. Ni kijana mzuri.
Wewe hapo umwambia watu nyumbani?
Kwanza kuwaambia kwa sababu unajua unaweza sema na kumbe tena mambo yaende. Sasa nilingoja kwanza ikaiva. Ndio sasa nikatamkia tu mmoja. Kwanza mtu wa kwanza niliambia tu Made. Na Made akasema na hapo ni vigumu kwa sababu kwenda shuleni. Sasa hapo utaongeaje Kizungu? Nikasema ni Mungu tu ataongea sio mimi.
Sure.
Sasa mtu wa pili ndio sasa Bishop akaniulizia akasema, "Wewe ulifanyaje ndio sasa ukaongea naye?" Nikasema, "Nilijaribu tu vilani watu wanajaribu, lakini pia Mungu akanijalia neema." Maongezi kaenda sawa.
Okay. Mkaoana.
Kwanza kuoana tuliamua lakini kwa ngumu. Ilikuwa mfutano.
Safari ilikuwaje? Hebu tueleze sasa hiyo safari.
Hiyo safari ilikuwa ngumu kwa sababu
ushafungua roho, yeye amefungua roho.
Yes.
Mmambia wazazi nyinyi wote.
Yes, tuliambia wazazi.
Kakoje tena ngumu?
Ilikuwa ngumu kwa sababu ilifika mara tena wakasema ati before ndio sasa wewe tena mzungu paka lazima tena tulienda huko tulikuwa embassy Nairobi. Ati before ndio sasa wewe tena mzungu tena inataka tena umalize karibu almost 6 years. Miaka karibu 7 hivi 6 hivi. Wa believable. Kwanza ya hana bwana pia mimi sina bibi. Tena hiyo mambo tena ikakuja kidogo ikasukuma. Unaona. Sasa ilifikia sasa mahali yenye sasa tunaweza sasa sisi tukasema sasa waache chitoleo huko kwanza. Sasa turudi nyumbani kwa tena tuongee tufanyaje kutuma enda mtafute lawyer. Ama sasa ndio sasa hii mambo iende kwa process vile nataka. Kitu nashukuru Mungu ilichukua muda lakini tulifanya harusi ile mzuri tena.
Kanisani. Aha. Sasa hiyo ilikuwa ni mwaka gani?
Ilikuwa tumenyata kwanza.
Ukumbuki tarehe yenye mlifanya harusi?
Najua mimi nikijibu yote yeye atakosa.
Sasa ngoja niulize. Sasa yeye alikuwa amekuja kwa hiyo nini walikuwa wamekuja kama missionaries na wazazi wake.
Yes.
And then wewe mwenyewe ukasema hapa mimi nimeona mtu mwenye anaweza kaa na yeye mama watoto.
Yes.
And then alimaliza karudi nyumbani kwao ama alikaa tu sasa?
Sasa tulikaa. Na kurudi huko. Sasa wakati nyarudi huko alienda tu kuwaona. Kuona ndugu zake kwa sababu familia yake ilikuwa hapa, mama na baba walikuwa hapa.
Sasa akienda ulikusha maliza kuweka mimba?
Alienda na Boni.
Wewe ni ule mzee. Ulikusha maliza.
Ama dada akienda huko ilikuwa by the way ilikuwa kwa malaria. Sometimes ilikuwa malaria ndio sasa akaenda akasema wacha aende Amerika. Sasa akikuja ndio sasa labda aende kwa nyumbani kwanza ndio sasa akikuja sasa tena atakuwa sawa. Weather ilikuwa inasumbua.
Alijifungulia hapa ama kule?
Huko.
Okay. Sasa ikakuaje sasa baada ya harusi amerudi nyumbani mambo ikakuwa sawa? Ikakuwa
tu sawa.
Ukasema kuja tuishi maisha yangu my very humble home. And then
kila alikuja maisha yaliendelea tu sawa. Hapo mimi nilikuwa naendesha boda boda. Hata paka saizi mimi naendesha boda boda. Unajua napenda kazi ninafanya. Sasa hapo nilikuwa nikidoka pia anasema sawa enda ujaribu alafu tena rudi mapema kwa sababu hali yenyewe wewe.
Ngoja niulize wakati unamwambia I love you mpaka ukakuja kumuingiza box alikuwa anajua kazi ambayo unafanya na kipato chako?
Yes, alikuwa anajua. Kwa sababu hata hapo wakati nilikuwa na meet naye mimi sikuwa na pikipiki, nilikuwa naendesha pikipiki tu ya mtu.
Na pia saizi umenunua yako?
Saizi tuko nazo 2. Tunaendelea tunajaribu
pole pole. Okay, saizi sasa mnaishi pamoja. Najua kuadjust vile unavyosema hata before useme I love you ulikuwa unahangaika sana kutafuta mistari, utasema nini, atachukulia vipi. Baadaye ukamchukua ukamuina kwa hapa nyumbani na uko naye na nimeona mko na watoto 2. Tatizo ambalo ulipitia haswa wakati sasa mko pamoja sasa si eti unaanza kurehasi mistari uko na yeye kila wakati sasa inabidi muwasiliane kila wakati.
Yes. Sasa zingine ilikuwa tatizo, sasa zingine tatizo ilikuwa Sasa zingine yeye anataka akule chakula yake. Na mimi pia nataka nikule chakula yenye nasoea. Unajua hiyo miaka ndio sasa mkutane, uwezi toa tu kwa hiyo mtu chakula yeye aseme kula hii ni vigumu. Sasa saa zingine yake
umezoea ugali.
Mimi nimezoea ugali. Na nimezoea
tena
chakula.
Ugali kubwa.
Yani sasa ikawa sasa tena yeye unajua yeye chakula yake anapika vile anasoea. Sasa hapo ndio sasa ilileta balaa. Sasa zingine unaona yeye anasema nimepika ile leo tukule tu.
Sasa chakula anachokipikia kama ni gani chenye ulikuwa unaona mimi hapa si.
Sasa unajua yeye anaweza hizi potatoes na koroke. Hizi viazi na koroke tu ni kweu kama uji. Sasa naona tena kadi sijui nyama tena waongezee. Sasa unajua sasa hiyo mix wewe hujawahi jaribu. Sasa inakuwa ngumu kuhandle na kata hata hivi unasema nitashiba kweli.
Unataka ugali.
Mimi nataka ugali. Sasa zingine wanamwambia sasa kama tumejaribu kidogo nimejaribu ndio so fanye kwa ugali. Unaona sasa hiyo sasa
ukamfunza kupika ugali?
Zaisi yeye ni fundi wa ugali.
Ulimfunza?
Mimi nilimfunza.
Ulipika mara ya kwanza ya pili?
Mara ya kwanza nikamwambia hii maisha itabidi usee. Kachukua unga kidogo nikaweka nikamshika mkono, hiyo unapeleka hivi na hiyo unapeleka hivi. Mara ya pili mwenyewe nikamwambia jaribu peke yako sasa. Akajaribu penye sana anashindwa, akaniita anasema iko sawa, nikasema sasa ongeza zako tena joto kidogo. Kama 30 minutes hivi alafu nitakwambia. Sasa hiyo ndio kuzoea.
Sikia harufu ugali beiva vizuri. So pia amezoea anakula ugali.
Size pia anakula ugali. Tena anapenda hizi manaku, manaku hizi kunde. Sasa ni mtu zaidi mwenyewe. Tena kwanza anapenda sasa kukula hizi greens sana. Anazipenda.
Okay. Changamoto ya culture najua inaweza kuwa. Culture yako na culture yake. Hebu tueleze.
Unajua sasa kaja yao ni ya kweli. It's different. Kwa sababu yeye anaweza ona vizuri na anaweza hata amua aliye kwa hiyo uzuri. Na sisi ukiona mtu akilia unafikiria ni kama kuna jambo kubwa yenye meshampeni. Unasema ni nini mbaya lakini huwezi elewa. Unalia nini? Kwa sababu sisi ukiona tu mtu analia unasema huyu amechapwa ama shida nini?
Like analia tu ile kwa uzuri analia.
Yeye naye sasa akiona uzuri sana na hata ina
uzuri analia, ubaya analia.
Sasa uzuri anaweza lia tu na akicheka akilia, lakini ubaya utaona ni different.
Sasa wewe unamuona analia unashangaa kwa nini huyu analia nini?
Sasa akilia ni sasa unauliza kosa ni nini? Anasema hiyo ni furaha tu. Sasa inabidi sasa unaelewa. Unajua sasa unashikanisha tu. Sasa ukiishi na yeye ndio sasa ndio unaelewa sana. Tena unajua hao sasa the story yao ni vile unaishi na huku. Ukishikanisha hawezi ingiana. Vitu vingine ukiforce ndio sasa kuharibu. Itabidi sasa pia unamwambia hii fanya hivi na unaona pia naenda kisawa sawa vile unataka.
Okay. So wewe unapanga kwenda nyumbani?
Nyumbani wamepanga hata pia mimi nimechelewesha kidogo. Lakini pia mimi sasa pia kazi hizi paka tufanye mipango za kwetu kwanza. Sasa hizi tunajipanga, unajua sasa wako kwa line. Sasa kwenda shule paka lazima tupange za nyumbani kwanza. Hizi sasa hata tukienda huko pia nyumbani tumepanda kakitu.
Okay. Na sasa mmekaa pamoja kwa muda gani?
Sasa hizi wacha tuseme miaka 4.
Miaka 4. Okay. Na sasa ulisema walikupatia msichana, wakasema msichana wetu ndio huyo kana yeye. Nyinyi ni watu wa kumpenda Mungu, Mungu mwenyewe sasa awaongoze. Mahari ulilipa?
Hiyo mahali hao ni wanatakana tu nao nilipeko kidogo. Mimi nakula kwao tu. Sasa mimi hapa kunanga mambo za mahasoso.
Au kulipa mahari?
Huko au wenyewe nini hao wakubalingi vitu kama hivyo.
So walikupa msena bure?
Huyo ni wa kwangu tu wa bure.
Okay. Nice. So sasa yeye bila alivyoenda nyumbani akasema mimi nimerudi kabisa.
Yes. Hata tena zaidi akienda anajua tu akikuja anakuja kwake.
Anarudi kwake. Okay. Najua hapa nyumbani japo pengine anaweza kosa kusema lakini kuna mambo mengine unaona akona uzito kidogo ya kushika kabisani kama gani?
Mambo mazito ya kushika. Sasa zingine unajua Kenya ni ngumu. Kenya kwao kwanza nasema Kenya ni ngumu kuishi kwa sababu sasa zingine wanapitia mfudo. Sasa zingine hiyo ndio maisha. Sasa zingine mimi naweza sema labda ina mfuta kwa sababu akikoja tu muda ishe, kama wachaenda kufili hizo pepa zao nini, unaona wanapika fine. Sasa hii ndio saa zingine na waposti. Lakini huku Kenya maisha ni wanasema ni rahisi tena kuishi, na tena ni rahisi kuhandle. Nikuzoea tu watu labda tembee na mtu mwenye anamtishia aseme Kenya watu ni wabaya, sijui Kenya watafanya nini, lakini mimi namtia moyo na wasema hawa ni wanadamu tu. Hawa mnazoeana tu. Mkizoeana mnakuwa marafiki. Mkizoeana pia wako na usaidizi. Si ati huyu ni mzuri, huyu ni mbaya. Inatipenda nani mwenye amekaa na yeye na vile amemwambia. Sasa yeye pia anaelewa na pia anakuwa na morali ya kuishi.
Sasa hapa nyumbani yeye hufanya nini? Analima, anafanya nini?
Mimi nikienda kulima pia anapenda alime. Sasa kitu yenye pia mimi nafanya pia anataka tufanye pamoja.
At least learn.
Sasa zingine sisi naenda kwa mboga hapo, anapalilia mwenyewe, anafanya kila kitu mwenyewe tu. Sasa pia ni mtu mwenye anafanya kazi tu yake.
Nimeona kuna watoto wawili. Unapanga kuwa na wangapi?
Unajua target yetu inaweza fail, lakini target ya Mungu hatujui.
Yenu ni ngapi?
Yetu nilika akasema mimi napenda mimi nikuwe na watoto kwa sababu mimi napenda watoto. Mimi Mungu akinibariki na watoto 5 utakuwa sawa.
Wewe sasa
unajua tukiongea
tunagree wote wawili. Ukasema mnataka watoto 5. Lakini sasa agree ya Mungu yenyewe naye sasa sisi wenyewe tutajua. Sasa tunangojea Mungu pia. Okay.
Yes.
Nice. Okay, sawa. So labda pengine kitu chochote ambacho ungependa kuzungumza ama kuwaambia watazamaji wetu.
Mimi nawaambia hizi vitu wanaona tu kimajo, lakini ukijaribu inawezekana.
Wajitume.
Wanaume mjitume. Anajua ukiona kitu ikitembea kwa umbali, hiyo kama uchaongea na yeye utaona huyu mtu labda hata kuwa na muta ya kuongea na mimi, lakini ukijisongea karibu na yeye, maongezi yako iende vile inatakana, utaona mtakuwa karibu tena, mtakuwa mabeste. Sasa kujituma, msiweke mambo mengi, jaribu kwanza uziano.
Kabisa.
Yes.
Wow. Sasa hizi huwa mna minister wawili kwa kanisa yenu, mmejenga kanisa yenu ama?
Ndio sasa tunataka kuplani kwa hii mwaka. Tunataka kutienge kanisa kwa hapa tu Nyangali kwanza moja, alafu tujenge tena na shule. Tunataka tusaidie hao kama watoto mama tima hao. Na tena tunataka wenyani wajiweza zingine tunaweza wapostia hapo waendelee na masomo yao. Hiyo ndio target yetu. Na iko kwa process, sio mbali sana.
Lakini sasa wewe unajua ushakuwa na mashemeji ambao ni na in-laws, mother-in-laws na mashemeji ambao ni wazungu. Hao sema Kiingereza nacho kunakupiga chenga kidogo. Sasa unapanga labda pengine kwenda katika masomo ya ngumbaru, kujua hiki Kiingereza vizuri ndo wakija yani wenyewe uko sawa kabisa.
Nashukuru Mungu kwa sababu tayari Mungu ameniwezea kwanza English kazuri, saizi kamepandako cheo kidogo. Sio kama ako ka kwanza, saizi aka kaingine kameingia kapili nako nikatafu sana, kako very strong. Sasa mimi kitu yenye mimi naomba labda nikienda huko na pia mimi ndajaribu niingie kwa ndani nielewe kazungu zaidi kuliko vile mimi nakaelewa. Ili sasa nikikutana na wengine pia wawezi sema rutia naongea tu wakisema tuende mbele.
Na sasa by the way hapa najua kuna mabeshta wako hapa mlikuwa mnatembea pamoja. Walichukuliaje ile swala, wanaonaje? Mazee jamani aje ameoa mzungu.
Unajua kwa ilikuwa tumsituko. Wakutarajia kuna mwenye alikuwa ametarajia inaweza happen. Kwa sababu walifikiria vitu viki happen na watu wenye wako
wamesoma, wako high class,
yani hata wamekuwako kwa serikali, sio nyangali. Yani watu wenye wako yani akili yao yani wakiona wakiamuka hivi wako juu. Lakini kumbe haiwezi fanyika hivyo. Kumbe mtu anaweza kutoa tu mahali na anakuweka mahali na hapo mahali inakuwa pako tena utoki. Sasa mimi nashukuru Mungu. Kwa sababu hao mabeste pia wakuwa tu na surprise na bado wanaendelea na surprise, lakini wenye wameamini na wenye wanaendelea kustuka bado wanastuka. Sasa hiyo ni mpangilio wa Mungu tu.
Kuna vijana wengi labda pengine wanatarajia kuwa siku moja watakuja kuoa mzungu ama watakuja kuolewa na mzungu, unawaambia nini?
Mimi nawaambia kitu ya kwanza, unachua watu wakikuja sasa zingine wanakuja kwa kanisa. na huwezi kutana kwa pombe. Sasa kitu yenye mimi nawaambia, kitu ya kwanza wachue Mungu. Na ukijua sasa ukiwa kwa kanisa itakuwa surprise. Utakutana na yeye tena aongee tena akupendeze sana vile wewe huwezi tarajia. Unajua hapo kidogo tu unaweza sema waje pia mimi nijaribu kumwambia tu jina. Hii ni Chuligana na kuuliza unatoka wapi. Sasa hii ni mpango ya Mungu. Sasa akikuuliza unatoka wapi, unajua mtu akuuliza kutoka paka utaongezea yako na lingine. Sasa lingine kama litapendeza watakutafuta. Wakikutafuta hiyo ndio baraka ya kanisa.
Sawa, mimi najua kwamba pale wakati tutaweka history yetu kwa YouTube, najua mashemeji na mother-in-law pia wanasikiza, watawatch pia. So nilikuwa nataka uambie tu neno moja.
Unajua mimi nitawaambia hivi. Mashemeji na in-law.
Kwa Kiingereza maana nitakana wajue. Uombe kwa Kiingereza kwa lugha ambayo wataelewa.
It's okay. You can tell for my in-law and my mom and my dad. I love him for so much. You do for the good things for me for my life. You make my life more to look beautiful. For now, most for me can say. You make more for my face, my life, most for my kids, for my wife. Now most for me now, more standing, more to look for another man, more can just stand now. He said, Shukran, thanks, everything what you do for me. I love for him so much.
Good. Thank you so much. And so that has been Albert Wanyonyi here in Nyangali village, Bumula sub-county in Bungoma. For him, he said, love is blind, and he said he'll have to go wherever his heart is sending him to. And so he talked to the love of his life, and they later on got married, and today they have 2 beautiful children. And so I'll also talk to his wife, and she will have also to share her story. And was Albert the one, and how did she even know that Albert was the one? Karibu. Hello.
Hi, Samara.
Hi. Is it she's Samara?
Samara.
Oh, nice. So welcome. You said your name is?
Carrie Wanyonyi.
Carrie Wanyonyi. Okay, now we've talked to Albert. Albert has shared his story, how you met, and such a beautiful experience. You met him, and you say that he was the one.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit. How did you, find yourself in Kenya?
So God called me from an early age to missions in Kenya and Africa as a whole, but this is kind of the starting point. Okay, honey. And so to get here to Kenya, I did not know Albert at the time, but I was in touch with some ministry workers out here, as were my parents. And we sold what we had in America. We gave up our houses, our cars, and we came out here. Anyway, we came out here to start a ministry.
So at that time, you and your parents had sold everything, or you
yes,
as an individual?
Both of us at that time had sold everything. I began to do that in October 2017. And then a couple months later, they said, hey, God has also told us to go out to Kenya and to be missionaries. So they also began at that time the process. And it takes a while. It took us until June 2018 to get here. And Albert was part of the prayer team. I didn't know him at the time. He was involved with the community of prayer warriors that we were working with out here. But personally, I had never met him. I wasn't aware of who he was at that time. And they had a dinner planned here in Bungoma when we were to arrive. We were supposed to get here, I don't know, 5, 6 at night and eat dinner with them. We didn't get here until 4:30 in the morning. But he was one of the prayer warriors who was introduced to us and gave a brief introduction. And as he was introducing himself, God spoke to me and said, this is your husband. And that's why you never found the right one back home. And so at that point, I wasn't like in love with him. It wasn't like love at first sight, but it was this realization of, oh, okay, God, this is my husband. And then I started to watch him to figure out who this man was, because I had never met him before. And then 3 months later, he took me shopping. He was working for the ministry partly as a driver at the time because he's so good with motorbikes. So he was driving me to one of the shops, and he wasn't, he didn't really know English when I came. But I guess God had spoken to him during prayers and told him to speak English with me. So he started to pick up English very quickly as God helped him. And he was pointing at things and trying to teach me the Kiswahili words for them. He would point at the power lines and say stima. That's one of the ones that I remember him teaching me. And I didn't know he was talking about the power lines. I thought he was pointing at the sky for a while, so it took me a minute to figure out what stima was. But I got it. Anyway, he's saying all these words, and one of the words he was teaching me, he said, what is it? Upendo. He said upendo. And I said, okay, what does that one mean? He said, it means I love you. And I started to get like a inkling that he's saying more than he wants, like he's saying more than just teaching me words. No. He said, okay, it means I love you. He said, I said, what does that mean again? He said, it means I like you. I said, that's not what you said. You said it means I love you. And he said, I love you. I love you too.
Did you respond to him at that time?
I didn't respond to him, but I was like kind of overwhelmed, and then we started speaking English together at the time.
At that time though, there was something, there was like a feeling.
It was a feeling, yes. There was a feeling. I was overwhelmed. He had given me the flowers the day before. He had walked to my house and just handed me flowers and walked away. And I didn't know what to think of that because I had never had that kind of thing happen. Like, I felt like, okay, I think that this guy actually likes me, but I liked him so much at that point that I didn't want to hope. Like, you can have somebody showing you signs of affection, but sometimes you can be wrong about what their motivation is.
So you didn't want to come out and show it?
So I didn't want to just be like, oh yes, I love you, and then have him be like, oh no, I was just being nice. Because it happens sometimes, you know? Especially when you really are in love with someone, you can misread what they're trying to say. Although flowers are pretty direct. But just the next day after the flowers, he goes, I love you. And then he started calling me my wife, which I never would have put up with a person back home. But because God had already told me 3 months before that he was going to be my husband, then I kind of allowed him to say my wife. Because I knew it was going to happen.
So at that time when God had already spoken to you that he is your husband, were you praying about it?
Yes, I actually had. I wasn't praying before then. I mean, I knew that God would lead me to my husband eventually. But after that, yeah, I went into prayers about it. And about a month later, I'm staying in a compound that we were renting up in Miluki area. And God gave me a vision of Albert and I married. And Albert didn't know English at the time. I didn't know Bukusu at the time or Kiswahili. But God, in the vision, I put my hand on his heart, and he put his hand on my heart, and we just understood each other's hearts without words. And I woke up from that vision. I said, God, if this is the way it is, that's okay. If you've made it this way so that we can just understand who each other are and understand each other's feelings, I said, but if we have a family together, Lord, please teach him English or teach me Kiswahili so that we can communicate about life, about the things that are important in life. And that very day, he came to the compound and he greeted me in English for the first time. I mean, that wasn't huge, but he said, "How are you?" Instead of saying, like, he had said habari to me before. And the man is so handsome, like, to me, he's so handsome that every time when he would come and he would say habari, and I know it's Mzuri, I would try and say it back and I would completely get lost. And the first time he walked up, he goes, habari. And I held out my hand and my heart stopped and I went, habari. And I knew, but my words wouldn't come.
Oh my, you were startled.
Yes, and I'm never like that. In my whole life, I've never been like that with any other man until he came.
Oh my. More signs to show that he's the one.
Exactly. But there was so much, and then one of the concerns I had was that people said when you marry a Bukusu, one of the things is you have to know how to cook ugali very well, and the mother-in-law will sit there and she'll watch you make ugali and she'll see if you're good enough to take care of her son. Which makes sense. You have to be able to take care of your husband, right? But I didn't know how to cook ugali at the time. So after he said, I love you, we went shopping and we sat there at Tesha eating some palau. And we were just sharing this plate of palau and talking. I said, you know, I don't know how to make ugali.
Ooh.
Because it was really concerning me, like, if we want to get married, like, is your mom even going to let us? Because I can't cook
at
you
some
ugali.
point, from what I'm getting, at some point, you are getting serious. With this, I love you.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's like, you know, is your mom going to let us get married? Because I can't cook you ugali. I don't know how to cook ugali yet. I'm willing to learn, but I don't know. And he said, my wife, I will cook the ugali. And then I knew he wasn't just one of those men who was saying, I love you. Because as a Mzungu, you can have a lot of men here saying, I love you, because for some reason they think you have money or something else, you have some connections. And a lot of people say, I love you, that don't mean it. So I didn't think that was the case, but for him, when he said, I'll cook the ugali, there was this like realization in me that he was really serious, that he really felt this thing, he wasn't just pretending. And he had been thinking about it and feeling it for a while. And so that melted my heart. Like, I felt so happy and so warm inside just knowing that he was a Bukusu man who was willing to even cook the ugali in our relationship if he needed to. But since then, he's taught me and I've learned how to cook ugali, and I think I'm proficient enough at it now.
At that time, you're not dating yet. At that time, you told her that I love you. And then now you like, you kind of prying about it.
Yes.
And now, did you talk to your parents about it?
Actually, I talked to my parents before the I love you. So when I had the vision of him and I married, I came that day and I talked to my mom and dad and I told them what I had seen, and I said, you know, God told me that this is my husband and I'm really interested in him. I said, I don't know what his, you know, where he stands right now, but I really care about this man, and I think that God is telling me that he's my husband. And my mom was very happy because he loves God. Both of my parents were happy, but my mom is the talkative one out of the two of them. My dad is more of a quiet person. So my mom was you know, yes, he loves Jesus. All I can ask is that he loves Jesus. You know, she wants someone who really loves Jesus, because when you love Jesus, even if you're not at the same place, you can pursue the same place and you'll end up together, you know.
And at that time,
So-
maybe when you're coming, I don't know, like there is this issue now, or, you know, Albert is coming in saying, I love you, and your parents are so much excited about it. Back in US, were you not in a relationship maybe?
No. I had dated at times, but before I started talking to Albert, there was a guy who was interested in me back in the U.S., but before I had ever even talked to him, God was telling me that that was not the relationship for me, and I actually shut that down as a possibility. I told the guy, listen, I'm in Kenya, I'm not coming back from Kenya, because he thought I was going to come back. I said, you're not pursuing what you should be pursuing for us to be together. So it's not going to work. So that one had already been shut down, actually several weeks as a possibility, several weeks before Albert ever even talked to me. In fact, at the time I shut that down, I thought that this man hated me. Because every time I would walk into the room with him, he would walk out of the room. I would come in to try and get to know who this man is, and I would sit down, and there was many people, you know, it wasn't like inappropriate or something. I would sit down, and he would look up and get a little uncomfortable or something, and he would just get up and walk away. And I'm like, every time I come into the room, this man leaves. He must not like me. I must have done something to offend him. But later I found out it was just that he was having feelings for me, and so it was making him uncomfortable to be around
when
me
you're
and not
around.
to say something. So-
Okay. Then later on, you introduced him officially to your parents, and maybe he introduced you to his parents?
Yes, it's just his mother who's alive now. But I've been working with his family. I guess the situation was a little different because I've lived here in the village, not at this house until I was married to Albert, but we lived with his brother, Peter Simiu, because he is our bishop. And so my whole family was staying with the bishop at that time while we were getting settled here in Kenya. And so we are very well acquainted with the whole family, including his mom, who we saw almost every day. So as this whole thing was developing, she was kind of knowing from both of the sides what was going on from the very beginning. So he did tell his mom, and she was excited, but she kind of knew already, you know. She had seen her son. And then when we started talking, she got really, really excited. She doesn't speak any English, but she has the kind of very expressive nature that I can understand a lot of what she's saying even without the words. So she talks to me about stuff, and I can't interpret what she's saying word for word, but I can tell you what she's talking about. She's just amazingly good at communication, even with just her expressions. So,
later on you got married.
Yes, yes, yes.
Here you are.
October.
Okay, October you got married. Here you are. You facing any difficulties or anything? Adjusting in terms of culture?
Adjusting, maybe. There's differences in communication. Not so much that we can't relate word for word to each other, but just the style of communication and the style of living. There are a few things, like after we got home from our honeymoon, which was a missions trip to Mbita.
Mbita?
Yes.
Okay.
So we came back from that missions trip, and we were just staying in the house at first. It was a small mud house at that time, and we had a kerosene lantern, but I've always, back home, I was a big fan of camping. And camping, you go out and you stay in a tent and you sleep on the ground in like a sleeping bag, and you just use like fire for cooking and other things. So I was kind of comfortable with that already. It became, I suppose, when it was every single day of my life, it became more of an adjustment. But I appreciated the simplicity of it. And as we've lived together, we've been able to build onto things. Mostly, it wasn't because we didn't like the mud house or because we didn't like the kerosene. It was more for convenience. Because as I was pregnant and then I had the kids, we needed more room. So we expanded the house. He wanted TV, so we got a solar battery with a TV, things like that. But all in all, I think the hardest thing was the communication for me. Because there are things you just don't realize. Like after I got back from my honeymoon, he was so used to going out and visiting every family like around here in the mornings. So I would get up, I would start to make tea. And I'm so happy because in America, you get up and you spend time together. Like all the time that you're not at your job, because like everyone in America, you go out and you get a job and then you come home. And so every time that you're not at your job, most of the time you're spending together. And then once in a while, you schedule time to go see a friend. Here, you just go, you know? And I had to get used to that. I would wake up, I would start to cook, and my new husband is here, and he would be like, okay, I'm coming, and he would just leave and go somewhere, and I'm like, you're not staying here? And you know, it was just an adjustment on my part to learn the culture. It wasn't that something bad was happening, it was just me to learn. And then I would call him for tea. He would come, he would have tea with me. Sometimes he had tea at 3 other places before he had tea with me. And that was such an adjustment on my part. But now I love it. We can just have our tea. We can go and see my mother-in-law and have tea there. We can go and see my brother-in-law, have tea there.
No, she'll just...
It's nice.
At all. Okay, and now you're married. Are you perhaps maybe, okay, according to him, we talked to him and he was like, I don't know English, so but I'm trying to adjust. Are you perhaps his teacher?
I guess I help him. He doesn't seem to need much help. He just talks, and then every once in a while he's like, what does this word mean? And then I help him to understand the word. He's very like a functional learner. As he works on something, he picks up things. So he'll like watch a program on TV and he'll pick up new words, or we'll be talking and he'll realize there's a new word there and he's like, okay, what does that one mean? And he just adds it to his vocabulary. I can tell that now he has a lot more vocabulary than he had at the beginning of our relationship. But I never really noticed times when he was like, okay, teach me this or teach me that. It was just a little here and a little there, and it's grown.
It's also another thing that, of course, it is also affecting you in the other way, because now you don't know English, you don't not in English but Swahili, and you don't know Bukusu. So is he doing that?
He is my teacher. I've written down books and books of words that he's given me, and I practice them, but I found that I need more structure in my learning style. So I found a textbook on the University of Kansas website, and it's free, and so I've downloaded different lessons from there, and I've been working through the lessons. Kidogo, kidogo.
Okay, I know you say he is your teacher.
Mm.
He's taught you some Bukusu words.
Yes.
Or sentences. So you can express yourself in Bukusu?
I don't know as much Kibukusu now as Kiswahili
Mhm.
because there's more that you can write down with Kiswahili and learn like the structure wise. But I do know a little bit of Bukusu. I know things like busuma, for instance, for ugali. And you know, I've been practicing Kiswahili so much I'm having trouble remembering.
Okay,
some of
okay.
the
We
stuff.
also have our viewers who really also understand Swahili, so you can as well talk to them in Swahili. Okay, tell them that okay, tell them your name, and your husband is Albert Wanyonyi.
Oh, that I don't know yet. I've learned like classroom directions
Okay.
and some greetings and things like that. Like I can say like, you know, obviously I know the greetings because I've been here a long time. But I can say little things, but I can't put sentences together yet, and that's the
Okay.
problem.
A few that you've learned maybe. Don't remember.
The problem is that it hasn't gotten into putting
say
sentences
your name
together.
is?
It's just
You
words
said your
here,
name
words
is?
there. Carrie.
Kerry. So okay, my name is Kerry Wanyonyi. Say it in Swahili.
I don't know it in Swahili. That's the
Jina
problem.
langu
Jina langu.
ni Kerry Wanyonyi.
Aha. So it would Jina langu ni Carrie Wanyonyi.
Yes.
Thank
there
you.
you go.
That one, I think it's lesson 5 and I'm on lesson 3 right now.
Ah.
So I haven't gotten to it.
Oh, okay. Nice. So we're hoping that maybe the communication barrier will be another issue, you know,
Yes.
maybe after 10, no, not really 10, 1 year, 2 years, you'll have worked.
Yes.
You'll be, you know, speaking Swahili fluently.
Oh, yes, I hope
and
so.
Bukusu.
I'm learning because I have to learn because the kids will be learning it, you know. My son already understands more Kiswahili and Bukusu than I do.
Oh.
So I have to learn. I'm working really hard at it.
Any word or sentence in Bukusu?
I know it. Just give me 1 second.
Okay. Take your time.
Nahusima lukali mosechewas.
Uh-huh.
That's the sentence I know.
That will mean.
I love you very much, my husband.
Ooh, wow.
It's a useful one.
Wow. So that is basically what you always tell your Albert every single day?
I say it mostly in English, but yes.
Great. Okay, again now, after you decided you want to get married and this is the man that God has, you know, shown you that he is the right man. Like, okay, other than your family, you said, other than your parents, you later on talked to your siblings as well?
Yes,
How did
my
they take
sister
it?
and brother. They're back in the U.S., so they didn't see everything that was happening here. They weren't particularly surprised that I was going to marry someone here. Before I came, they were telling me, Carrie, you're going to find someone, you're going to marry them, and you're going to tell us that you're going to marry them. And I said, no, I won't. It's not going to happen. And then I came here. Of course, it happened. But they were surprised, I think, that it happened so quickly. And they wanted to be able to come out for the wedding, but because of like money and timing, everything, they couldn't do that. But my sister did come out to visit later to get to know the family, and we've all been online, getting to know one another as a family. They've all been extremely supportive, very helpful with things. The first year we were married, they sent out some money for Christmas, and we were able to buy a small cow and kind of get a head start on some of these things around here. It's because of that cow.
Okay.
So they've been very supportive. They were surprised it was quick, but they were supportive.
Okay, and somebody will ask, Carrie, she's been in US all her life, and then now she's come to Kenya as a missionary. Maybe other than doing ministry and all that, did you go to school? What did what is your profession?
So I went to all of my school and then university. It was Idaho State University in Pocatello, Idaho. I lived in California and Idaho and North Carolina throughout my life. We move around a lot more in the U.S., but Idaho is where I attended university. And I got a major, Bachelor of Arts in Economic and Political Development, part of the International Studies curriculum. I have a minor in economics, a minor in global history, and a minor in organizational communication. So the funny thing is, I graduated with an economic development degree in the middle of a recession in the U.S., and that's like the most useful thing in the middle of a recession. And I was told there are no jobs in economic development right now. I'm like, this is exactly what we need. We need to develop the economy. Why are there no jobs? But I got random jobs, like jobs that you needed a degree for, but they were just office jobs here and there. I was a receptionist, I was secretary, I was a loan officer for a while at a bank. And then I worked as a property manager, which I absolutely loved doing. I managed like large properties where people had a community that had like rules set, and everyone needed to follow those rules. So I would have to go to board meetings and conduct the board meetings for them. I would have to look for different violations for the community rules and send letters to the people. That wasn't my favorite part, because it doesn't matter if you agree with the rules or not, you're making sure their rules are followed. So you just send the letters and everybody comes back at you. How terrible are you? You're making me change this thing on my house. I don't have any, I don't have any say about it. Rules are rules.
So you have to
Your community set the rules, But it was a nice job, and it taught me a lot about board regulations and rules, and following different types of laws and the order of law. So when I did go into being a missionary, you wouldn't think you need that in missions, but when you establish a missions organization, then you need it, because then you're running it as a board, you're running it with the laws, and you're trying to make sure that it fits, with the laws of America, where we came from, and the laws of Kenya, and you have to follow all of those laws, because you can't just run things the way you want to run them and expect everyone to accept what you're doing. You have to do it legally. So that's been really, really helpful in my work out here, and the international studies too has taught me to try and adjust the way that I do things to the culture around me. Even if I am slow at picking up the language, I try.
Oh, nice. So are you maybe planning to get a job here in Kenya, maybe? If at all you get a permanent, residence, whatever, will you be able to maybe to look for a job here in Kenya and, continue doing whatever you like?
So if I got a permanent residence, right now I'm on a missions permit, so I can't work on a missions permit other than missions things. But if I got a permanent residence, unless God led me differently, no, I wouldn't be looking for a job, because I pretty much have a full-time job doing missions. It does mean that I'm supported by people around the world who will help to fund the missions work. And it's really something you have to live by faith, because your money doesn't come from your own work. It comes from people donating to your work. But God has always provided. We've always had enough. And this is the work that He's called me to. So this is basically where all of that was leading. And even if I get a permanent residence and I'm able to work, I might help him establish a business, or help him with the bookkeeping for a business or something. But for me, the missions work is a big thing. Eventually, the different things that God's led me to want. We want to have a boys' home. We want to have a school, like a missions school. We want to have a missions training center and a church and several other things. And we're only part of the way there. But once you establish all of that, it is a lot of work to keep up with it. So I don't think I'm going to have time to go and have another job.
Like for Wanyonye, he told me that he's planning to have 20 children.
Oh, 20 children, huh? I think, he's told me he wants as many as he can have. And if he wants 20, I understand that, but I don't know if that's going to happen with my body. I'm 35 already. So I know I at least want 5. And I think that part of the reason God's given us desires to have a lot of kids is because part of our ministry is for street children and for school children and things like that. So even if we don't have 20 of our own one day, who knows, maybe we will, if God opens the doors, whatever. But even if it's not 20 of our own, even if we have 5 or 7 of our own, and then we're also going to be ministering to children our whole lives. So children are just going to be all around us. Children are going to be part of our life. So you have to have a desire to just have children all around you for that kind of thing. So I think that's part of it.
Okay. And maybe what is your favorite meal here in Nyangali?
Okay, as far as Kenyan food goes, because man, I can cook a lot of American food here too, and I do. But Kenyan food, I think I love chicken when I get to have chicken, but more often it's the greens. I love, let's see, if I was going to cook my favorite meal, it would be ugali and chapati and managu and chicken all together. And we don't do that. We don't cook all of that all together. That would have to be for like a celebration like Christmas or something. But I love managu. And kunde with mocheleha is really, really good too. And I can make my own mocheleha. My mother-in-law has taught me how to do it.
Oh, that is the local magadi.
Yes.
So initially, is that something that you've been using, uko, back at home?
Not back at home, no. That's something that's just here.
Just learned here.
So I've learned it here, and it's delicious. Especially when you use it with the milk or cream. Wow, it's very good.
Okay, other than that, I know probably you've been here for about 4 years now.
Almost, yeah.
I believe you're still facing some challenges here and there.
You know, the biggest thing that concerns me is the fact that I always have to file immigration paperwork, which is completely understandable. It's just immigration. But you know, when your life is somewhere, you always have this small fear inside, like, what if it doesn't get approved this time, and then what am I going to do? But I know God's called me here. So one way or another, when I file paperwork, it's going to work out. You know, I just have to make sure and follow all the regulations, file on time. Everything's gonna work out.
Many people will like say, this is total madness. Like, how can I just leave everything, you know, the luxurious life in US and then just come here? I mean, what will you tell them?
I would say that it's not for everybody. You have to be called to it. I was called to it, and I knew it from an early age. From like 5 years old, I knew I was going to be a missionary. I knew that I was called to like a simpler life. In fact, what I wanted back home was to be like a farmer and a cook and all of these different things in addition to working in ministry. So we have a farm here, and that's kind of worked out for me. It's all of these things. I love to be around animals. I love to be in nature, and I love to work for God. So for me, because God made me for missions, then this is what satisfies me. But for someone who God hasn't made for missions, it would not be satisfying to them. They would come out and find it a very difficult life, and they wouldn't really know how to deal with it. It would be frustrating and stressful, and they would probably end up even just like going home or being miserable, one or the other. So it's not for everybody. In fact, there's some people God's called from here to go there, or called to go to the city, or but there's people that are called from the city to go to the rural areas too, you know. So you just have to follow what God's plan is for your life, and then you'll be satisfied, because He makes you to do a specific thing, and when you do that thing, you find the happiness that you're supposed to have, because you're in relationship with Him, you know.
So how does your daily, a normal day look like you and your kids and the love of your life?
So I used to do all of the chores around here every single day, but because I'm working so much for the ministry, we have a lady that's helping us out. She's actually a relative. Her name is Esther, and she comes in and helps with some of the morning chores. So I get up and I clean inside the house while she's cleaning outside the house. I make tea, I make the baby porridge, I change both of the kids and get them ready. I make sure everything in the house is looking nice and comfortable, and then I call Albert to tea. So sometimes he's still in bed. Most of the time he's out working somewhere. So then I'll call him from wherever he is. He comes and we have tea together. And we enjoy conversation, and we just hang out as a family. Usually I'll have some worship on in the morning. And I'll read the Bible to the kids, because I think that that's very important for them. Even if they don't understand with their minds yet, the spirits can understand the Word of God. So I want it to be part of their life. So after that kind of morning routine, Albert will go out and do whatever work he needs to do. Usually it's something either at the house, or if he has the bike around and we don't have it out for someone else to do Boda, he'll go out and do Boda with it. But right now, we have the bike out for Boda already. So he's been working around the house, and I'll come out and I'll like watch him a little bit, and I'll do my work. I'll do online work for the ministry. I'll respond to emails that people send inquiries for the ministry. Sometimes I'll write sermons. I'll sit down when the kids take a nap, and I will study Kiswahili. And that's kind of a newer thing. I make sure the kids aren't fighting because kids like to fight with each other. I make lunch, call Albert for lunch, and then after lunch I get to kind of relax. That's when these guys go for their nap. So before lunch I'm doing work, and then I'll make lunch. I'll usually give them a bath and put them down for bed around 2 or 3 o'clock. And then after that I do my studies, and I sometimes take a little bit of time to relax. If I'm really tired, I'll take a nap too, but I don't usually have time for that. And then I cook dinner, and I get the kids ready for bed, and then most of the time, by the time that they're asleep, I'm tired too. So that is my typical day. I'll put the chickens in for the night. I'll bring the goat in for the night, and then Albert and I usually will hang out for like, I don't know, 30 minutes or an hour together after the kids go to sleep, and then we turn in for ourselves too, because we'll be woken up in the morning early by the kids.
Nice. Okay. Most of the people here, our culture here, I am a lawyer as well. So what happens is that most of our men here, they marry more than one wife. So what if that happens?
I don't think it's going to.
You're going to give
we
him more
talked
love.
about this. We talked about this before we got married, actually, and he as far as what he says, he's not interested in marrying more than one wife. There was actually a time when I was pregnant with our first child that I got really, really, really sick. And there was a lot of conflict and communication problems and stuff. And at that time there was a threat of, well, you know, I understand now why some men marry more than one wife, is what he told me. He didn't threaten to go and marry. He said, I understand why, because this is very difficult. But if we got through that difficult time, and he didn't go and find another wife, and he's still stuck by my side, he's not going to go and marry another wife. But if it did happen, if it did, that's very different from my culture, and I wouldn't be able to stay his wife. In my culture, that's considered as like cheating on your wife. You don't marry a second one. So it basically voids the first marriage. If somebody were to do that in my culture, I would still love him. I'll love him forever. But if he did marry another wife, that wouldn't work for me. I would probably just like stay around, but there would just be nothing physical between us anymore, you know?
You can't imagine sharing.
Because there's the kids. I can't. That's the thing. I can't imagine like sharing someone physically. That's the thing, you know. I just can't imagine that one. I'm not against people who do it. It's just not something I can do. I don't know. I suppose one thing I can say is just, you know, my whole life, I love where it is right now. I love my husband. I love my kids. And I didn't get all of this doing things in my own way. I got it after I followed after God. I tried to do things my own way back home, and it didn't get me anywhere. I just had to start all over every time, start all over. It wasn't until I gave up trying to do it my way and just doing it God's way, and then God made everything work out. It's like within the span of a year, all of these different desires that I had in my life were coming to fulfillment and coming to fulfillment. And it's like, okay, finally you're doing it my way. So here's this thing, here's that thing, here's this thing. I'm not saying you should follow God for blessings. But when you follow God because you want to follow God, or when you follow God because you love Him, He also wants to bless you. He wants your life to be happy, and He's created you for that certain purpose, like we were talking about earlier. So when you fulfill the purposes that He has for you, then those desires that He's already placed in you, He'll fulfill those as well.
So according to you, He is Mr. Right.
He is Mr. Right, yeah.
He's your true love.
He is. I can't imagine loving anyone the way I love Albert. I just can't.
Okay. That is Kerry Wanyonyi. And of course now, according to her, she has said our Wanyonyi, Albert Wanyonyi, was and is and will always remain her true love. We've talked much with Wanyonyi and Kerry here, but of course I believe it is time to call it a day.
Oh, you made it for the rabbits. I see. It's a camera. Can you say hi? Say hi. See? Look it. You can see yourself. Say
Hi, Zachary.
Baba and Mama and Yaya, which is Zachariah. They call him Zachariah. This is the youngest.
yeah.
So Yaya, she can already say cat and some people are funny though, like his cousins.